Woo! The Division community is getting heated over the threat of bans and inaction by Massive, and hidden behind all of this passion, the Bantam League went live earlier today. What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be taking you through it all. The bans, the concerns, the new league, surprise, and of course I have thoughts and suggestions all along the way. Now it feels like anytime I post anything, a tweet, a video, a comment in our open Discord server, I get tagged back with a barrage of player concerns, and yesterday, after we got that news from Massive, was no different. Now, I'll get into all that a little later in this one, but first, let's quickly run down the new Bantam League, which behind the scenes went live earlier today, and there are a few pitfalls in this one if you aren't careful. Alright, so let's get right into it. Here are the new requirements for the Bantam League. Of course, 4 new missions: Liberty Island, Bank Headquarters, and Manning National Zoo, all on hard difficulty. And then the challenge mission, kind of an odd choice, but interesting, is Stranded Tanker. You also have Weak Points Broken and True Sons Elites Eliminated. I'll cover those last two in just a moment. So let me talk you through the missions, and I'm going to give you my recommendations here. So first mission that I did was Bank Headquarters. This is on hard difficulty. You need to finish this one in under 14 minutes. This, of all 4 of these, is the easiest to accomplish. Looking up on the screen right now, here's the build that I used. This is the status effect build. I put a build guide out for this last week. I'll link it in the video description. Anyway, it's close quarters. It's inside a status effect build, especially using something like Creeping Death on the backpack is absolutely just going to wreck this mission. This, of the 4 missions, is going to be the easiest for anyone to complete in the time allotted to get the top time. Next up was Manning National Zoo. They want you to finish on hard difficulty in under, that's sub 21 minutes to get 10 out of 10 stars. And you take a look at it and you think, oh, hard difficulty, this is going to be a breeze. But remember that Manning National Zoo is a long-ass mission. I decided to try it out with my status effect build, the same one that I used on Bank Headquarters. This was probably the wrong choice for it. I did finish in under 21 minutes, but I was starting to cut it a bit close. I would probably recommend, instead of that status effect build, this Heartbreaker build, or something dedicated to mid to long range. I'm showing you the build here up on screen just so you can see it. Just something so you can reach out and hit those enemies a little further out. Something like a heavy DPS build with just a little bit of armor on it ought to be able to shred Manning National Zoo much faster than what I was able to do with the status effect build. Next, let's actually talk about the challenge mission, Stranded Tanker. They want you to finish this one in under 25 minutes for the top time, 10 out of 10 stars. This is actually a lot easier than what you think it's going to be. I used that same DPS build I just showed you, the Heartbreaker Kingbreaker build, and absolutely crushed Stranded Tanker on challenge difficulty. So I would recommend something like that, something that can hit for quite a bit of damage. You can also kind of couple it up with the Weak Points Broken. Remember, you are taking on cleaners. There's a lot of weak points, especially like their compressed gas tanks on their backs. Pop one of those, you instantly get 1 weak point broken to count towards that total. And I purposely held off on talking about Liberty Island until last. You take a look at it, it says hard difficulty, by the way, to get 10 out of 10 stars. They want you to finish in under 18 minutes. Again, you take a look at the difficulty and the time and you're like, I've got this, no problem. But just like Manning National Zoo, Liberty Island in its own right is a longish mission in there, and you're taking on Black Tusk. The build I recommend, again, is this heavy-hitting Kingbreaker. You could run with something like Eagle Bearer or another assault rifle that you like. The Heartbreaker gear set is ideal because you're picking up DPS, you're picking up heals, everything's kind of compacted into this build. And Memento Backpack serves many different purposes in this build. I'm picking up bonus weapon damage, I'm picking up bonus armor, and that skill efficiency is really clutch because you pair that with the Jammer Pulse. If you take a look at the skills, I highly recommend that. That's going to help you out when you take on Razorback with all the drones. Later on, when Keener takes over over the Marauder drone later on when Keener has his shade crates inside, and then the final penultimate battle with Keener when he's got all of his shade tech flying all over the place. That jammer pulse is clutch, and when you're running Memento Backpack, you're picking up the trophies, you're picking up skill efficiency. Included in skill efficiency is skill haste, so you can run a bunch of red cores and blue cores and still get that jammer pulse back off of cooldown as quickly as possible. As far as the last two requirements, they are asking for 500 weak points broken and 250 True Sons elites eliminated. As far as the weak points broken, try cleaners, try hyenas. They're all kind of running around with quite a bit of things that you can destroy that'll count towards those weak points. And then for True Sons elites eliminated, I would probably recommend just finding control points on heroic difficulty, those occupied by True Sons. Heroic difficulty should guarantee you more elites hitting the battlefield. Drop them. There you go. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and shift up into high gear. Here comes round two, the main event, with all of that info that we got yesterday about the upcoming XP farm bans. Of course, when we started logging into the game a little after that message yesterday, or this morning, you were probably met with the message that you see up on screen. It says important update. I mean, it's big, bold print. A message on exploits from the Division 2. We are monitoring players that have exploited mechanics to gain an excessive amount of XP. This behavior is resulting in high latency, making the game unstable. Players that make use of these exploits will receive a temporary ban that's 14 days on first offense. I talked about it yesterday. Normally a temp ban is 7 days, so they've doubled it up. They want to make sure that your vacation is in the back of your mind or in the front of your mind so you don't do it again. So a temp ban for 14 days. Repeat offenders will be banned permanently. And of course, from the very second that message was posted by the dev team at Massive over on Twitter, Twitter was all ablaze from comments on both sides of this issue. Reddit was on fire. My DMs were on fire. Discord was on fire. Very heated arguments made on both sides of this. Now, it doesn't mention this verbatim in the description here, but I'm 99.99999% sure that this has to do with the Fei Lao Manhunt XP farm. Players figured out a way to essentially glitch the game. Let's call it what it was. They were glitching the game, creating a very specific instance where they could go in and just get an NPC farm happening in that very last portion of Fei Lao, and they were just sitting there for hours upon hours upon hours, throwing Kim launcher rounds down at a very specific door, picking up massive amounts of XP, counting towards proficiency ranks, counting towards shade ranks. Players were posting over on Twitter, look, I'm up at 70k, 80k, 90,000 shade rank, which is insane. And immediately I started getting tagged into this discussion over on Twitter on both sides. Heated arguments, people asking me to send DMs to comm devs over at Massive so that more people would get banned. There was just a lot of heat flying around about it, and I'm sure there's still heat flying around about it. I've made my viewpoint on bans in the Division 2 very well known ever since we had the shield damage glitch and all those players that were banned and rolled back. I'm never for bans in the game, especially when they have something to do with the game. And let me clarify this. I'm not just throwing a hot take out there so that I can get a bunch of action going on the video. I think there are specific cases where bans are called for, especially when one player is using an exploit to grief another player, a la in PvP. With hindsight being 2020, the very second that Massive started to see these incredible XP gains being posted through this glitched instance in the Fei Lao mission, and or they started to see a massive spike in latency because of players interacting with this mission in this way, they should have just disabled the mission outright and taken it out of the rotation until they could come up with some sort of fix for it. I mean, looking back on it, that seemed like such an easy thing to do. Okay, we've got players that are using this mission to exploit the system. We've got massive latency issues being caused because players are interacting with this mission in this way. just take the mission completely out of the rotation, disable it so players can't even interact with it, and then come up with some sort of strategy to handle it in the background. Instead, they left the mission, and I say they, Massive left the mission live for all of these weeks. All these players are sending complaints about the massive latency that they're experiencing within the game, and meanwhile, players are over there just farming the ever-living hell out of the Fei Lao mission, and now we have these insanely high shade ranks that I don't think Massive really knows how to deal with, because these were obtained artificially. Again, just echoing my sentiments on all of this, I am strictly opposed to bans in the Division franchise. I was opposed to the shield damage glitch bans. Now, if they wanted to roll back the players to a previous progress point, okay, I can totally see that happening, and it was justified, but a ban was not. Now, as far as the Floor 10 Summit XP farm and or General Anderson, I lump those into a different category than the shield damage glitch and the Fei Lao XP farm, because Summit Floor 10 and General Anderson are players that are choosing to interact in the game in a different method than what's being thrown to them. They're being a little bit creative with it. With Floor 10, you kill the boss, and then you let the NPCs kill you, and then you would start it over. They're not actually glitching the game. They're just interacting with it in a very specific way. Same thing with General Anderson. They start the mission off, and then they just farm that one closet. Now, of course, we know both of those have been removed from the game. Moving forward to the Fei Lao mission, though, that's something completely different. That's players interacting with the game. They're creating a glitched instance, and the game is performing in a way that it's not meant to. Those NPCs spawning in down there are not supposed to happen. That's not how that mission works. That is created by that instance. By the way, I talked about this in yesterday's video. We also saw that in the past with the Foundry Bulwark, players creating an instance where they would interact with DZ entrance doors way too fast. It was creating a desync between client and server side, and therefore they could go into the DZ and they were completely invisible, sometimes up to 5 minutes at a time, and then they would run in and grief players who could not see them. So the question is, what's going to happen moving forwards? Because at least the way I'm interpreting this from the verbiage in the Division 2's tweet is they're not able to take this glitched exploit instance out of the game. They're not able to patch it out like they did with General Anderson or with the Summit Floor 10 XP farm. And I see these arguments being made all over social media that players that did this boosting that are at 70k shade level, 80k, 90k, 100k plus, those players are now at a serious advantage over players like me at 2708 shade level. And I understand that side of the argument. So just using my shade level as an example, you can see here again, I'm at 2708. My current health boost is at 35,124. So what I did is I kind of came up with a figure in my head at a shade level of 10,000. So I've seen players out there at a shade level of 10,000. That's no small feat to reach that. And somewhere around a shade level of 10,000, it's not exact, but probably what they could do to maybe kind of quell some of the heat on this issue right now is, let's put a cap on the current health boost. Maybe that could help out. Remember, for every shade rank up you obtain in this game, you only pick up 2 points of health. Now, for somebody that's done a 70, 80, 90, 100k boost, they've got a lot of health bonus boost going on right now. But why don't we just cap the health boost at 50k? That's somewhere, I know it's not exact, but it's somewhere around a 10,000 shade level rank. Maybe that's a fine medium, a compromise that we can find there, because again, it doesn't look like Massive is taking any action against players that boosted. They're not rolling them back. They're not going to ban them unless they further interact with this exploit and this glitched instance. So why don't we just impose a cap on the shade level, but more importantly, the current health boost at 50k health? So that way, those players that boosted and got those artificial gains aren't at serious advantages, at least health-wise and when it comes to the Shade watch. Now, I know all the materials they picked up, that is a different issue. I don't know how you roll that back. I don't know what could be an equitable compromise made between the players that took all this time and boosted versus the players that feel that everyone should be banned. I don't know how you reach a happy medium there, but I think that current health boost, maybe capping that right around 50K, that might be a good starting point to kind of get this going in the right direction. Sorry if this one rambled on a bit. I just wanted to make my viewpoints clear and concise, and as always, I welcome your feedback in the comments section below. Remember to smash that big, beautiful subscribe button and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Really important that you set your notifications to receive all, or YouTube will default to only occasional alerts and you can miss my latest upload. If you could take a few seconds more to rate and or share this video, that would also be greatly appreciated. Remember, you can find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and of course over in my open community Discord server, links to all of which can be found in the video description and pinned comments below. Huge shout out to the over 115,000 of you out there that have taken that leap and hit that subscribe button, and as always, a massive thank you to the Buzz Battalion patrons over on Patreon. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.